Good morning and happy Friday. Welcome to Big Agent Meeting. My name is Russ Legg and I am your host today for the Big Agent Meeting. This is our forum where we talk about news coming through with the company updates, talking about NAR updates weekly now, and also interviewing agents, helping you take your business to the next level with letting them show their insights on what they're doing and how they're doing it. We get into the dirt and we make out details so you guys have real traction items every single week that you can take and apply into your business. This is Regional Rally Month. If you guys haven't already been to a regional rally, I was just in Atlanta, and I want to say to all my Atlanta people, you guys threw a great party over there. I had a great time. Thank you for making me feel loved and accepted, and such a warm appreciation for what you guys do and what you guys did. Congratulations to all the people that got some type of award for doing something at the regional rally. It was brilliant and beautifully done. Really enjoyed my time there. Thank you for that. So with that said, today we've got a show coming up for you. We have not only the new CEO, Leo Pareja, and VP of Brokerage Operations, Holly Mabry. Today, going to have a conversation about what's new and what's going on. And then we're going to kick over to Chief Learning Officer Brian Ellington, who's going to interview one of my favorite agents, Jason Kay. That's going to be a fun conversation. Jason's on the ground doing stuff. You guys are going to love what he has to say. So with that being said, right now, let's kick this off and get this moving in the right direction. We're going to have, starting off right out of the gate here, Leo Pareja and Holly Mabry having a conversation. I'm going to kick it over to them. Take it away, Leo.
Thank you, Russ, for introducing us. We're super excited to be here. As many of you watched the live with Holly and I on March 18th, we made some promises, and the promise is velocity. We're staying ahead of this. We want to arm you with all the tools you need. And I've been saying this a lot, so we're figuring out with you. So what we're about to share, we want feedback. We want to know how it's working in the field because we have your back. So Holly, why don't you pop up the slides and we'll just jump right into what we're sharing today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited, Leo. The team's been working really hard, and there's so many people who have been working behind the scenes. So as we go forward, and you will see this in your SkySlope account right now, the single property buyer broker agreement. This is how you get paid going forward. And you know, this is such a near and dear watching what had happened March 15th and going forward, Leo.
Yeah, so just to remind the folks that weren't on the live, one of the things that, you know, the NAR settlement happened on March 15th, and Holly and I talked a lot over that weekend as we prepared ourselves to share with you guys. And one of the things that we were kicking around that we disclosed on the call is that we would be creating a one-page, one property disclosure or buyer representation agreement. So in some states that was already required, but in many it was mostly implied. So one of the immediate feedbacks we got from agents were, once these rules go into effect, it might be harder to get the traditional exclusive buyer agreement signed, you know, for 3 to 6 months or whatever length of time. So we listened to you guys, and I think we're absolutely going to be the first brokerage, let alone state or association that creates forms, to create one for you guys. And that's what we're going to dive into. So just to remind you guys, July 5th, mid-July, is when the rules change in the MLSs. Commissions will no longer be offered via the MLS through the blanket offer of compensation and cooperation. And so before you can unlock a door, the rules state you have to have an agreement in place. So this is one of the additional agreements. You can still use the traditional one that you've used in your states, but we heard you guys loud and clear, and we came up with one that is a lower commit that can be used to get you to the more exclusive one down the road. Kick it back to you, Holly.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this because in preparing for this change, we know buyers have a lot of questions, and they're fearful about, hey, if it's not compensation's not offered in the MLS, how do I pay for you? Like I haven't saved that much cash. And so as part of this bridge agreement for you to go out and show a single property today to a buyer, it does say, hey, I'm going to ask the seller on your behalf to pay for me at your direction. And this would be one of the clauses that would be put into the purchase contract to ask for that concession. Again, buyer compensation will not be in the multiple listing service come mid-July. As a result, you have to ask to get paid, and you have to ask either the buyer or the buyer directs you to ask the seller directly. And this is just one of the clauses we want to lead with. And it becomes really important as you're having these strategy sessions with your buyers. What does it look like? Because they're scared too.
Yeah, and this is the mantra that Holly and I came up with. Treat your buyers like you do your sellers. And what do we mean by that? If you put on your listing agent hat, you've had this strategy ever since you got into the business. You don't take a single listing right now without a written agreement. And most of the time, when you're going on that appointment, you're already in a multiple, agent competitive situation where you're having to present or pitch in order to win. And that typically is a full listing presentation with a very clear, articulate definition of what you will do and the service fee you will charge for that. And we have agents that do flat fee. We have agents that do percentage fees. We have from white glove to limited brokerage, and we support all of it. We're just saying, take that same strategy with buyers going forward. Know your numbers, right? As a listing agent, you know your days on market, your list to sell ratio, how you negotiate. You have all these stats at your fingertips. And we're just, suggesting as you create your presentation, and we will continue delivering operational assets for you guys to use and modify and make your own. But you should know, on average, how long does it take you to get somebody under contract? Do you normally get the property for below list price? Do you normally get concessions? Know the value you're bringing to the table so you can articulate it. And for most of us, this wasn't part of the muscles you had really worked on in your career. And we're just saying, hey, this is the muscle group that you need to really focus on and strengthen. And we're delivering it in April because we want you to practice and get good before mid-July comes along. So when the switch gets flipped in your MLS, you've already prepared and gotten into the rhythm of how this needs to be done.
Absolutely. And in the marketing center, this next week, you will see a full buyer packet that you can customize to yourself that will help you, just like you do for your sellers, as Leo said. We want to make sure you've got those assets and continue to strengthen your buyer presentation and what that looks like. So a couple of key things with this new form that will be in SkySlope for you. It's designed really to assist you as that bridge to meeting a buyer and earning their trust. It allows you to have a deeper conversation because you've established, hey, this is my fee for service before you unlock the door. And it's a one-time, one property. But now you get in the property and they start looking around and they really like you. Okay, great. Now you can expand your conversation and do more with an extended buyer broker representation agreement. Maybe look at a longer time frame that you're going to work together, maybe more properties. And so this allows you that flexibility to put the consumer at ease, establish trust, see if you are a good fit for one another, and go to next. And that's what's so critical as we go forward. The keys to success, go ahead, Leo.
No, I was going to say the feedback and the demand for this was, what do we do with a cold internet lead where literally the first time I'm meeting them is in the driveway, and the expectation of doing a full buyer presentation and getting them to sign an exclusive agreement on the first meeting is probably a little harder than a referral or a past customer. So that's why we came up with this model where it could be a super low commit, one page, it terminates at close of business type document that you could use, and then use that, as you said, to lead you to the next opportunity.
Absolutely. So there's a couple keys to your success in this. This document should accompany whatever your state agency disclosure form is. Some states it's a disclosure, or an agreement, or an authorization. They must be signed together. This is the yin and yang, if you will, as you go forward and unlock that door for the first time. You do have to establish a time limit. Some people are doing maybe a weekend. Some people are doing, maybe 24 hours or end of business, as Leo said, because it establishes trust. What are we going to do together, and how long can we be together, and what can you expect of me? Those are additional conversations you get to have. And then this allows, because it's a single page, it's very easy to read, sending to the buyer in advance of the showing, meeting them in advance, maybe not at the property. Maybe you have the opportunity, especially for agent safety. gosh, meet them at a Starbucks, meet them at a off-site location so they can verify it's you and you can verify it's them, and then go see and view the property together. And then my favorite, and we saw this from the Agent Safety Committee, some of our fantastic agents made this recommendation. They're like, hey, I shoot a quick video, and it's like, cannot wait to meet you. Let me explain the process and 3 things you can expect from me when we meet. And it's a quick 30-second video of like, hey, I'm going to run through this form with you. Go ahead, take a look. We're going to talk about your needs and wants and what my fee is to help you in your home search as we look at this property. And that's something that you can send out. It's super easy, text message. It really helps establish trust and where you go from here. So where can you find all this good stuff? SkySlope is doing some revisions for us, which is absolutely fantastic. And you may have seen this pop up on the left-hand side when you log into SkySlope. It says SkySlope Forms. So immediately you'll click on Write an Offer, and then it will ask you, if you haven't already, download the libraries. You'll have several libraries to choose from. Obviously, your state and local or MLS, you'll be able to download those libraries from SkySlope, but then you'll have the eXp National Library as well as your state broker library. These are all the forms that we are pushing out to help you do a better business. And in there will be this form, and it is the single property buyer broker agreement. Then you'll just build your template for that client. As we evolve and as we keep going forward, you will see some modifications to SkySlope that will help you in this record keeping. It'll help you keep a hold of what's going on with your buyers. I'm really excited to roll this out to you because it'll make a big difference. And so we just want to put the best foot forward for you. Ease of use is the key to the kingdom right now. So Leo, anything else you want to add?
Just keep talking to us. Keep telling us what you're seeing. This is literally a response to your asks. And I said it yesterday at a rally, and I'll say it again. The fact that we're the single largest broker in the country gives us the advantage of crowdsourcing the best ideas, the feedback, this didn't work, that didn't work. So this is not in a vacuum. Continue to tell us. We listen, and we will, if we miss the mark on something, tell us, hey, this didn't land the way we expected it to, and we will amend it, and we will keep giving you guys feedback constantly.
Absolutely. Guys, if you need anything, both of us are available on Workplace. We're super excited to continue to help you build your business and prepare for the changes coming, because there's no better time to build a raft than right now before it's raining.
Perfect.
Back to you, Russ.
Yeah, back to you, Russ. Take care.
All right, there you go, guys. 2 of our leaders of our company leading. I took a couple of notes while they were going. Treat your buyers like you treat your sellers. Man, that's a strong statement right there. Treat your buyers like you treat your sellers. It's basically the same stuff. It's just on the other side of the table. Should have been doing it all along, probably, for most of us, right? I also like the point that there's plenty of time to practice. You guys got a lot of time to practice this, so don't worry about it. You got it. Mess it up a little bit, learn, and move on. By July, you're going to be ready to rock and roll and hit the ground running. Of course, I like the fact that they're saying, we're doing this to make the ease of use, and feedback from you is important. So make sure you're letting us know what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're feeling, and then we'll make adjustments, and we'll start making sure we're finding solutions for that. So you are an integral part of our success moving forward. So thank you for that. If you guys like this stuff, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe button so you can make sure you get on board for every single week when we're doing stuff like this. Hit like and subscribe, and heck, share this thing if you like it, because there's plenty of people out there that need leadership right now, and we're putting it down in spades. So with that said, next up, I've got Brian Ellington, Chief Learning Officer. I got to hang out with Brian in the regional rally. Brian, why don't you jump on in here? Let's have a chat real quick.
Hey, Russ, how you doing?
I'm thinking I'm just call you brother man now, because I love
Man,
personally.
Atlanta, now this. We're going to spend a lot of time together, man. I'm loving it.
Yeah, Atlanta was cool, man. Regional rallies are in full effect right now. They're going on all over the country. I just hit Atlanta. What do you have next?
I got Las Vegas coming up. I'm looking forward to that one.
So you had Orlando, Atlanta, and Vegas.
That's right.
Beautiful, beautiful. I've got Milwaukee, and I've got Detroit, and I've got Seattle still coming down the pike. So I'm pretty excited about all that stuff. It's just good stuff going on all around the board. So What are you up to these days? What's going on in university?
This is a great opportunity for us. I was listening to Leo and Holly talking, and Leo said, this is us responding. And I think about that, there's a lot of people who are reacting
Right.
while we're responding. And there's a big difference. Sometimes we mistake things that are done around us with
Yes.
things that are done to us.
Yes.
And it leads to that emotional trigger instead of stepping back and realizing that was just done around us. Now I just need to adapt. Like, somebody changes lanes in traffic in front of us and we think they cut me off. Nope.
Yeah.
They're just changing lanes. And now it's up to you. Do you want to get away from this person who doesn't use signals and changes lanes willy-nilly? Or how do you want to respond to that situation? And this is us responding to the situation. And while our competitors are out there wasting time with anger and frustration and not knowing what to do, we got to step back and realize that's our opportunity. That's our opportunity to skill up and get into action. And so you mentioned the regional rallies. That's a great opportunity. We've still got plenty of those coming up. This was the first week of them. We've got 3 more weeks of them coming up in a area around you. Go there, listen to the top agents who are succeeding, listen to our folks who are bringing great training on this and other topics so that you can adapt and get into action in your business. So regional rallies is definitely going to be one of those. If you have not yet checked out the buyer toolkit, the buyer agency toolkit that our great team put together, that's got not only tools, resources, marketing, scripts, even training that the university has done. Again, get into that action. We also have some pretty cool things coming up for our team leaders. So team leaders, 2 calls for you. The first is going to be a call for you, the team leader, as the executive of your team on April 26th. We're going to walk you through kind of a guided discussion on this buyer agency evolution. What are the decisions you as the team leader need to be making for your team about how you're going to adapt and adjust to this? The second call, which will be on May 3rd, the following week, will be a call for you team leaders to help you walk your teams through these changes. Talk about coaching, talk about training, and all those great things that you want to then bring to your team as you're decisioning about how you want to adapt to this. Then also team leaders, in addition to these calls, which are really specifically about this buyer agency evolution, we're actually going to be bringing you more value on an ongoing basis. Starting May 15th, we're starting a great call series. We're lining up a really cool agenda for you on recruiting to your team, hiring and onboarding to your team, running a team profitably, and all those types of topics that we know you team leaders really want to hear from one another about how you're managing, how you're leading, how you're thriving in those team leader businesses. And so we'll be bringing great top team leaders on those various topics to those calls. Again, the first one will start May 15th and we'll do them monthly. So keep a lookout in your email and on Workplace for the invites for those. And then finally, for the newer agents, Kickstart. We've got our round going right now. This has been a great series, 6-week series that we've been doing to help agents get their career into gear. We are starting the next one May 14th. And again, check Workplace for that registration coming up very soon. And then, of course, you and me are going to come back here next week with my friend Sherry Swift, who's going to be talking to you about having difficult conversations with buyers and sellers. So we're really looking forward to that.
That is fantastic. You know what? I love that you started off with respond versus react. That is so powerful. That's a logical response versus an emotional reaction. We all have emotions, but we have to choose the response, not a react. I love that. That's brilliant. Brilliant add to that. And look at the schedule coming up of great stuff to help people move the ball forward. I just love that, man. You got some stuff.
We're busy, man. We're busy.
By the way, Kickstart, actually, you know, a lot of new people do this, and it really is geared towards new people. But if you haven't seen Kickstart, you need to jump in Kickstart, because Kickstart shows you a lot of the things and the tools and the parts and the pieces that EXP has. And I know people have been here 2, 3, 4 years, and they have no idea some of the great stuff we have. So Kickstart really is for everyone. And you can see, so every time I watch it, I'm like, I didn't know we had that.
Yeah.
So
we've had a few agents comment that they really appreciate it. It's been around for a while, and you know, kind of jokingly, it kind of helped them knock the dust off of their way of thinking about their business and getting after their database and all those types of good things.
Yeah, going back to the basics and going back to that simple. It's like, pull it back apart, make sure you got the basics done right, and this will help you all with that too. So don't hesitate to jump in there, regardless of how much experience you have. All right, I cannot wait to watch you have this conversation. Why don't we bring Jason K in here? I'm gonna say hi, and I'm gonna get the heck out of the way. Jason K, realtor extraordinaire. Welcome, my brother. We've talked a lot on the phone, helped with a bunch of brokerage conversations. I love the way you roll. I'm going to get out of you guys' way. Take it away, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Russ.
Russ. Appreciate you. Hey, Jason, how you doing?
Hey, Brian, I'm doing great. Yourself?
I'm doing great. Hey, if you've not had a chance to check out Jason's 2 level ups that he did with us. So here's the thing. I love people who run toward the fire. So when all of this stuff started shaking out, I get an email. Jason is coming to Leo and me saying, "Hey, how can I help?" And so immediately we got Jason on camera and we did 2 level ups. And thank you very much for doing that, bud. We really appreciate it. Check those up on our YouTube channel. They are the buyer agency. Part 1 is the ingredients and part 2 is the recipe, right?
Yep.
And great content. Really deep dive into some of the things we're going to talk about today, but do go check those out after this call. All right. So Jason, you're in Boulder, Colorado.
Yep.
You've been an agent with us for quite a bit. You've been an agent for a long time as well. Now, really, we talked last week with Lonnie about the difference between internet leads versus sphere leads, and you got your business really to where you're working sphere leads, right?
Yeah.
And
I've
so that
transitioned away from the sign calls and the internet leads, mostly to referrals and sphere.
which can be a much more lucrative form of business, also a much more stable form of business if you're working it right. And I love that. And that brings with it too some privileges to a certain degree. And so we're talking here about the buyer consultation today.
Mhm.
But let's start with that sort of initial phone call because you're getting your leads from referrals and Sphere. That's a little bit different from an internet initial call. Can you talk us through what that initial call sounds like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So this comes from when I was back at a different company. I learned the LP Mama. I've taken that form, modified it heavily. I now call it the buyer intake form or the BIF. It's basically the same idea. It's what are they looking for? What are their motivators? Are they pre-qualified? Do they need financing? Do they need an intro to a lender? So it's a conversation versus a checklist. And a lot of what I get into in the fundamentals is how to communicate with someone and getting into rapport. 2 key fundamental things for me for that was learning the disc profile. I know we have a great recording from Michael Abelson in the library. Go watch it. It is key. I took multiple classes on this. The other is NLP or neuro-linguistic programming. Both of those basically help you communicate with someone. And if you're having a conversation, this is just a tool. Am I asking the right questions? And by the end of it, you should be in rapport. The person should feel like they've been heard, that you care. More importantly, you've got their interests at heart. And if that happens, the next piece just flows, and that's going and setting an appointment for the buyer consult. And that's where the magic happens. And that's where I usually get the buyer agency agreement signed.
Yeah, let's break it down for those who are not familiar or some of these concepts are new. So the DISC, of course, is going to be behavioral styles. What is that individual that you're speaking with behavioral style? And in understanding that can really help you respond better to them. Are you talking with a high D individual, somebody who's quick, fast paced, just wants the high level? Or are you talking to somebody who's a high C who wants those details? By the way, if you approach the one like you would approach the other, that's not a good recipe for success.
No.
All right. Now, LP Mama, and I always struggle with remembering the complete acronym. So walk us through it. It's
okay. The first part of it is where'd this person come from? Where'd the lead come from? Who are they? P is place. What are they looking for? Area, location, size, things like that. M. God, I'm blanking out. I don't have one of them.
Phone a friend. Here, I got you, bud.
Okay.
So motivation.
Yep. Thank you.
Agent.
Yep.
Mortgage appointment. So location,
Yep.
price, motivation, agent, mortgage appointment is the acronym. And really, this is all the details that you want to know to kind of build that working relationship, to understand what they're after, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It can get very deep. And as we touched on before with the disc, a D, this, if you're lucky, is a 5 to 7 minute conversation. If you have someone who's in high I who likes to talk, this could go on past a half hour easy if you let it. I typically will tell someone in the conversation up front, hey, listen, I have another appointment in 15 minutes, just so you know. If we're having a great conversation just before I need to run, can we set another appointment? So it's setting the expectations. Always be closing is one of the acronyms that I've learned early on. Always set the next appointment. And
Yeah.
this way, you always have a next point. If you don't have it set, oh, call me in, a month or two. It's like, okay, I will call you on this date. If you don't, it's sort of nebulous and it's much harder to reconnect. You will probably lose that person versus getting a client. So that's a
Yeah.
key point right there.
Yeah, and so speaking of that, do you have a particular close you like to do to set that consultation appointment? Hi D, I got your name and number from a friend, but maybe I just want to go see this house. How are you approaching that?
So again, disc's super important. The high C's, even the S's, it's like, hey, listen, don't you want to know the process that you're going to be going through? The D's like a checklist. It's like, hey, listen, I'm not going to waste your time. Let's quickly hit the market. Specifically, I want to show you what's going on in the price bands you're looking in the sector of market you're looking in the area that you're looking in, because the whole town is going to be different than just that. And that's going to be very different than what you're probably hearing on the news. That's what you're looking for, right?
Mhm.
Basically, what you're saying is, I got your back and I'm spoon feeding you the information you're looking for. So the I, those people, it's much more touchy-feely. It's much more important about getting in rapport where they feel like they know you, trust you, and like you. So
Yeah.
it's building that conversation and repeating back what they're looking for during the initial intake on, hey, what are you looking for? Okay, so let me get this straight. At the end of this, once I do that with the eyes, it's like, hey, let's meet face to face, or if it's easier by Zoom, I want to go over what this is going to look like for you. It's not about me. It's not about my process. It's about them. I want to make sure you're as comfortable as possible. Those last two words are key because they might not ever get comfortable, but I'll make it as easy as possible. And then we can go from there. So what happens is it just leads in naturally. And even if you're looking a year out, hey, don't you want to know what this is going to look like and how things might be changing for you? Let me give you some of those insights. And oh, by the way, I've got some tips and tricks that might help you too. So do I have a single script I use all the time? No, it really depends on the situation and the type of people I'm talking to. But the basic gist is, hey, let's do the buyer consult. And in that, you're going to learn what you're going to be going through and what you need to do and how to do it so you win. Is this a multiple bid situation? Great. Do you want to write and be seeing 18 homes, or do you want to get the first home? I'll show you how to do that. And it's not necessarily the highest price. So
I love
that
that.
talks to several different people right there in that type of scenario.
Yeah, and when you and I were talking, the phrase that stood out to me was you said, "Could I offer you a custom home buying plan?" And
Yep.
and regardless of how you're approaching it from the benefit to them of this conversation, rather than them feeling like this is all about you gathering what you need. I love that. Um,
Absolutely.
so now that we've set the appointment, are you preparing for this? What are you sending in advance? How are you preparing for that conversation?
Absolutely preparing in advance. It depends how much information I've gotten. At the very least, I've gotten what they're searching for and where they're searching. So I know what the market's doing. I've done some research. Is it speeding up? Is it slowing down? You
Right.
could look inside of your MLS for this. You could look at outside sources like Altos, which will give a bigger, broader stroke, but it gives you an idea of what's happening. That's one of your value propositions, and that's why people hire you. What are you bringing to the table? So that's in my back pocket. I typically will talk about it in the buyer consult, so I need to know. The other piece that happens here is setting expectations. Hey, this is how we work together. So, are you going to be the type of person who picks up the phone at 11:30 at night? Or are you going to be the professional that has working hours, and if they call you, it's going to go to voicemail. Your phone actually is shut off where it will punt it to voicemail. You get the text and they know it's, hey, I know you're not picking this up, but for tomorrow, can you please? So you can set those boundaries and those expectations. I used to live a half hour away from Wall Street. They were tough buyers. They were also tough sellers. So with this whole thing, you know, my wife had a buyer's package when I joined her team. it was a bit rough. She had a kick butt listing package. I literally R&D'd her listing package. I threw out most of the buyer package that she originally had. I think I kept 2 or 3 slides.
Yeah.
Of this buyer package, we have gotten this from everyone else. We have created 1 slide that is truly ours. Everything else, we've gotten ideas from somebody else because other people have been doing this for years, and it's really, really good stuff. So I've been doing a buyer consult for 10 years. That's what I learned. I didn't know any other way. Would I take clients out without getting something signed before? Sure, I'll take them out once. But I tell them, hey, we're going out once just to see how we work together. And this is going back to those sign calls and those internet leads. It's you need to meet the person and get into rapport to try to make this into a longer term relationship. Part of the way we did that was a takeaway. It's like, okay, why am I not going to show you this home? What don't you like about it? What do you like about it? Oh, hey, by the way, do you know there's 3 other homes that are similar to this that have these same features that you like? Would you want to see those in a tour at the same time? Just having that value that you bring to someone, that's the biggest way that you get into rapport, because like, oh my God, you know your stuff. Most of the people won't hire you because you don't know your stuff, or at least you haven't presented to them that you don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And once you understand your needs, you can really kind of dial into that. What I love about what Leo and Holly shared earlier about what the EXP team has done is now with that single use property buyer representation agreement, buyer service agreement, that gives you that sort of flexibility that,
Yep.
okay, if you can't close for that buyer consult to get the buyer exclusive agreement, okay, well, now you've got a tool that you can use to have that kind of dialogue that you're talking about at that sort of trial basis. And
Yeah.
that really gives you the at bat, right? To show
Yeah.
up, show and prove who you are in terms of value. But by the way, treat it like an at bat, right? Do your research. Make sure
Yep.
you're bringing that kind of value to the conversation.
Absolutely.
So you send your buyer consult, and you and I talked about this.
Mhm.
Your buyer rep agreement, your buyer service agreement is part of that package that you send.
Yes.
Anything filled out in that?
So typically what happens is as soon as I finish the conversation, I create the search, I send it out. The next day, I send a canned response email. It's set up in Gmail, click send, change a couple of words, basically what their search criteria, and I send it. And the title on it is Buyer 101. That's not the actual description that goes out to the client, but that's my canned response title. So it
Got
gives
it.
you an idea what's in there. It is literally everything. It is the buyer consult because we have set an appointment. It is, hey, did you get the automated search results from KV Core or your CRM? It's, by the way, here are all the other forms that go with this. So the affiliated business agreement, the wire fraud agreements, whatever other state specific agreements you have. So the contract, an actual contract to buy and sell, is filled out with example written on it in generic names and numbers. I send the buyer agency agreement here in Colorado. It's called the exclusive right to buy. I send that blank.
Okay.
And basically, I have here are all the forms. I have brief descriptors. And for that buyer agency form, I have, this is how you hire me. That is my script. I use it a lot. It is extremely effective. Because now it's not like, oh, I work, you get paid from somebody else. I don't have to pay you. I'm free to you. It sets it as more of a professional working relationship. And as soon as people start thinking of you as a professional, the way they treat you is very, very differently. You get treated as a professional. We're talking trial attorney. We're talking neurosurgeon. You don't expect to get your neurosurgeon on the phone at 5:30 in the morning. You have set hours and it's not easy to get them. Same idea.
One of my favorite quotes from Oprah Winfrey is, "You teach people how to treat you." So let's go through your buyer consultation. Take us through it. What are the major headings? How long are we spending? And really, where I'm really curious is, how are you presenting your value?
Great question. So the buyer consult typically is 60 to 90 minutes. With
Okay.
someone who's a really high D, most times when they're coming with their spouse is not a high D. So still going for 60 minutes and keeping them focused works. Same thing with super high Is. If they're a super high I, their spouse likely is not. So you need to talk to both people in both directions. In my LP Mama, in my pre-qualification of the clients, I ask them what are the 3 most important things that they're looking for in a home. And when there's 2 of them, I tell them each create your own 3 things and then combine the list. And during the buyer consult, just before I get into the meat and potatoes, I ask, great, what are your 3 things you guys are looking for? Great, who got which ones? Now I know who's the dominant. And if someone's a super high D, chances are they're not the dominant decision maker on buying the home.
I feel like you're talking about me and my wife. Go ahead.
Again, this is typicals and generals, but it gives you a good idea. So what you want to do is address the dominant person, the person who's going to be the decision maker. The other person's still important, but you want to focus on the decision maker. So you want to make sure you're speaking their language. Do they talk fast? Speed it up. Are they a very slow speaker? Okay, bring it down a little bit. Are they extremely animated? Get animated with them. Use your hands. So it's called mirror and matching. It's an NLP technique. What you then do is, again, completely dependent on the disc. Some people, they start firing off questions because they've read it. Other people, I even get to ask, hey, did you get a chance to read this yet? Yes? Great. What I'm going to do is just highlight a key few points and answer your questions. No, don't worry. That's why we're getting together. It's to go over it. I'm just going to answer your questions and highlight a key few points. It's basically the same answer, but the person who read it is a high C. They're the rule follower. They want details. They want a checklist, and they could also probably be stubborn. So be prepared for that. So everything I'm doing is trying to gain insights. I don't give them a disc test. I ask them, what do you do for a living? You know, you're a CEO. Okay, you're probably a DC. You're an engineer. You're probably an SC. Again, this gives me insights and ideas on what they're looking for, so I know how to interpret what they're doing.
Cool.
So as I'm stepping through, I actually go through the whole buying process. It's where I spend the most amount of time. Before I get to the buying process, I actually have a sheet that has a whole bunch of bullet points. I see those high Ds, those high Is, their eyes glaze over when they see the sheet. They're like, oh no, he's going to read every single one of these. I'm like, no, I'm not. And I'll say that. I'm not going to go over this. But in those bullet points, I highlight what my expectations are and how we work together. You know, my hours are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. My favorite line that's not on that page is, I typically show between 5 to 8 homes, and I show the best homes first. Yeah. That's a key point because I just set their expectations. Some of these people, I might not be able to get out for a month or 2 because they're not seeing anything they want to buy. They now have the expectation. We're not just going to look at a home to see if it might be okay. When I get in a car with them, this is their forever home, or at least the home they're going to put their money down on. So it really changes expectations and cuts the number of showings down. It's really kind of cool.
You know, I love those kinds of nuances. And we talked about this last week with our guest, Lonnie, just those little details about how you take control of the relationship, because there will be a control in the relationship. And if you don't take it, they will. And
Absolutely.
You talk to realtors who are crusty and burnt out, it's because they've allowed their buyers and their sellers to control them in those relationships. And so learning those little nuances are really important in your skill set.
It is.
So let's go to value real quick. When you're talking to the buyer about the value that you're bringing to them, how are you conveying that?
So I'm a high I. I also have a high D. I don't have a sheet that says this is my value to you. I have a sheet that basically has the realtor code of ethics. This is what we will do for you. It's what every realtor should do for you. My value to them, first of all, is trying to find out what they're looking for. The phrase buyers are liars, I really dislike, because they aren't liars. They might just not know what they want. I had a client early in my career, and I'm make this a really short story. He wanted a new modern townhome walk to town. I found one, and these were not common. It was a needle in a haystack. I'm like, here you go. You know, ready to go, Roger, ready to buy it. And by the way, that's not his real name. And he's like, I can't. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? This is everything you said you wanted right there. And he goes, my brother will never be able to visit me. He's in a wheelchair. He won't even be able to get in the front door, let alone stay. It's like, oh, head slap. So that's what I mean by digging. Sometimes people don't know there's things that are hidden like that. And you need to ask those probing questions during the initial qualification to find out what that is. That's of huge value because I'm not going to waste your time. Do you want to go like your friend see 28 homes and make 18 offers? Or do you want to be like one of my last referrals? I was cleaning a chicken. My hands were absolutely full of chicken. I'm looking at the phone ringing. I look at my wife, who is an agent, and go, "Can you answer that?" She picks up the phone. This is during the COVID insanity. And she's like, "You want to buy a home. Who are you? How did you get his name?" I mean, we were order takers then, so it was to be expected. But the point is, when I was talking to that person and the client who referred them, I showed that client one home they bought because they knew what was expected. The second client that was referred to me, she was an engineer. You know, same thing. They acted quickly. Most engineers don't. But you look at the Apollo 13 engineers to keep that crew alive and getting home, they had a deadline. You set a deadline for the engineers, they will stick to it. They won't like it, but they'll work within it. And that's what I did and got them a home in one showing. And they loved it.
Amen. And I love your close of this is how you hire me. All right. So as we're getting close to time here, any final thoughts for us about the buyer consultation and setting that up and holding a really great buyer consultation with folks?
Absolutely. You heard Leo say this before. It's true with any pro athlete. Practice it. Don't do it for the first time in front of a buyer. You're going to stumble. It's not going to look professional. I role played this. I did it a lot. I did the qualification a lot. I practiced the disc a lot. What do I mean by that? At one point, I had 8 role play partners in a week. Some of these role plays weren't just 15 minutes and done. One with one of the buyer agents I'm still close with. We haven't role played in probably 5 years. I talked to him last week, though. We were doing a half hour each. So that's an hour. And I was working with him 2 to 3 times a week. So we're talking 3 hours a week that we were practicing this at a minimum. We got really, really good at it. So for me, none of this stuff comes naturally. This is all learned. If you take nothing else away, you got to practice it before you practice it on a client, because I don't know about you, but those commission checks are pretty big and that can add up to a university bill very fast.
Yeah. You know, it's funny is, could you imagine a boxer going in a ring without ever having sparred before? You are going to get beat up. And the same
Yep.
is true for us. So, like those dialogues, the objection handling, that is our version of sparring. And if you've not done the sparring time in the gym, you are going to get beat up in the conversation with your buyer
Oh,
and seller.
absolutely. And I mean, buyers and sellers all have gone to the same school. They all have the same objections. So
That's right.
wouldn't you want to know what those objections are before you ever meet them and have an answer to them?
Well said. Stone sharpens on stone, people sharpen on people. All right. Hey,
Totally.
again, if you've not yet checked it out, go to the Level Up on the EXP Realty channel. Check out Jason's 2-part series. Really great deep dive into a lot of what we've been talking about. And he goes through his buyer consultation bit by bit for you. And like I shared with you before, Pablo Picasso, good artist borrow, great artist steal. Go steal his stuff. It's fantastic. Jason, thanks as always for helping us out. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Bud. Hey, back to you, Russ.
All right. Hey, guys, that was awesome. As expected, lots of great content. Thank you for doing that today. I really appreciate each of you and what you brought to the table. So good stuff. Love it.
Our pleasure, man. Thank you. Happy
Thanks,
Friday,
Russ.
y'all.
Happy Friday, guys. Have a good weekend.
Cheers.
There you go, guys. Add value, add value, add value, add value. Lots of traction stuff on there. You notice a lot of people don't really get into that personality thing. And the people that really get into that personality thing typically end up being much more successful. So like Jason does, like you got some stuff to learn. Pick away at it one piece at a time, learn what you need to learn, and take your business to the next level. So thank you, Jason, for the nuggets. Thank you, for Brian, for having that conversation, facilitating that conversation. All right. Hey, before you go, we got a couple of minor details here. We've got one thing that you guys got to check out. Unlock instant support. Have you ever thought, gee, I'm lost? I don't know who to call. I don't know where to go. You guys can jump on this thing, instant support from Expert Care Desk on your phone. Did you know you can save the desk contact information on your phone in one easy step? Just scan the QR code you're looking at right now and you'll be able to automatically save the card to your contacts. It's that simple. Expert Care Desk offers top-notch expertise, cutting-edge solutions, and the responsive support is available in English, Spanish, and French. Check that out. Good stuff all the way across the board. Hit that QR code. Lastly, here we go, guys. QR code for NPS survey. Thank you always for your feedback. By the way, last week, 95 NPS. So what we're doing, you guys must be liking on some level. So guys, jump in here. Give us a rating on a scale of 1 to 10. Let us know how we're doing. Don't forget to add a little note to let us know what you like. And if you need to change anything, let us know that too. We appreciate your feedback. Always striving for excellence with this show. We want to bring you the most updated information every single Friday. So jump in every week. Like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, make sure you see what we're doing. Stay tuned for iConversations. iConversations is coming up next. See you guys next week.